Welcome to Corona Stories from Observing the Process. I'm your host, Alex Greenberg. And before we start, I'm hoping you can help me out by supporting the show. You can do this by going to my website, observingtheprocess.com. For just $5 a month or $50 for the year, you can become a monthly supporter. This show relies on listener support to stay on the air. So if you find this content valuable, I hope you will consider subscribing. You can find a link to subscribe in the description of this podcast. If you can't support monthly, no worries. You can help out by rating and reviewing on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, or discuss it on your own podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. If you are looking for information on how to protect yourself and stay safe from COVID-19, please get information from the CDC or the World Health Organization. Today on the show, I had Jhoel. Jhoel works in the field of psychology and is based in Peru. Please welcome Jhoel.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
Hello.
Hey, Jhoel, what's going on? How you doing?
Fine. Thank you.
So you're in Peru right now? Where in Peru are you at?
I'm in Lima, the capital of Peru.
Lima. Okay, cool. I actually heard Lima has one of the longest waves in the world for surfing. Have you ever been to that beach?
Excuse me?
Do you know surfing, of course. Lima has like one of the biggest waves or longest waves in the world. Do you surf at all or?
No, I actually don't like surfing.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, I was just curious.
We do have some. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's start off by maybe giving the audience an introduction to who you are. So could you please give a brief intro to yourself, where you're based, what you do for work, that kind of stuff?
Okay. Hi. I'm Jhoel. I live in Lima. I actually just finished high school and I'm at university studying psychology. And yeah, it's been pretty rough these last few weeks because mainly I have not been able to continue my career, and I don't know what will happen after this.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure it's a lot of uncertainty. Maybe you could tell us when and how you first heard about the coronavirus.
I first heard about the virus about on this when the news were starting to appear about the virus and this situation in China and Wuhan. So yeah, information was at that time not that very specific, but I'm pretty sure most of the people knew already that there was a new virus in China.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you told me in your notes that Peru actually went into lockdown. Can you tell me more about what that means, lockdown?
So about in March, the second week March, all the schools were closed, and after the World Health Organization declared this virus as a pandemic, Peru went into an emergency state where they basically closed all borders, or all international and national flights were canceled. Also, buses going between Lima and other cities closed, and generally all now education facilities and transportation was closed.
Hmm. Yeah. You also mentioned that there's a curfew. When did that start? Is that like the same time that happened during the lockdown, like 8 p.m. to 5 a.m.? There's a curfew?
Yes, at the beginning, the curfew was set, started at 8 p.m. and finished at 5 a.m. But now, like 1 week ago, it was set from 6 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I was thinking also maybe you could talk about what kind of government Peru has, because in America it would be very extreme measures to do a curfew and a complete lockdown like what you have in Peru. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about, the style of government that you have and how the people are handling it or responding to it.
Well, the government in Peru, I will call it a centrist government. Like it isn't extreme
Hmm.
in, and they have handled the situation. I would say very good compared to other Latin American countries, because as soon as the World Health Organization declared this as a pandemic, our government took the situation seriously, and
Hmm.
they tried to act as fast as they could. They put us on lockdown when we had, like, if I'm not mistaken, like 100 cases. So it was pretty early at the curve. So I'm pretty glad that they did this as early as possible.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good to know. And you also mentioned that you had a family member that's stuck in Ecuador. Are they still stuck there?
Yes, uh, most of the Latin American countries are on lockdown too. So she's been there like 1 month, and we expect this to extend one more month, because neither Peru nor Ecuador have decided to open their borders, and Ecuador, the the situation there is pretty bad.
Hmm.
There are almost 7,000 cases. So yeah,
Yeah, that
things are
sounds pretty
not going
intense.
well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also on Instagram, I posted a video. This is when I first became actually interested in Peru's situation, because I heard that they went on martial law. And to me, martial law means that, all law that's on the books kind of goes out the window and the government gets to decide whatever they want to do, generally in the sake and the well-being of the people. But that just depends on the
Mm-hmm.
government's point of view. So did that actually happen? Is this lockdown considered martial law?
I wouldn't call it martial law, but it's something similar. We call it state of emergency.
Hmm.
For example, if the government needs, like, I don't know, for example, you have to import medical goods, like masks or protection equipment against the virus. The government take it, because, as I said, we are in a state of emergency where the government just needs that and they can take it. But
Hmm.
that hasn't happened.
Okay. Okay. I also I might have just mentioned this, but I posted a video on Instagram. Could you actually explain the video that I posted? If you remember, it seemed to be a person not following curfew. It just looked kind of disturbing, I guess, like very abrupt. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that video, if you recall it, and explain to the audience what kind of happened there.
Yes, and actually, there is a lot of people that have not followed the rules set by the government. There has been approximately 33,000 people that have been arrested for not uh, uh, following the curfew and all those things. And in that case, it was a man that was out in the streets, like wandering, and some police officers found him, and obviously they reacted in a bad way. I don't think it was necessary to apply violence, but there's just a lot of people going out in the streets and not following the curfew, so it has been pretty rough for the police and military to actually get these people to stay at home.
Yeah, I could imagine it's quite difficult. One other thing you mentioned is you have a friend from the health ministry. Could you tell my audience a little bit about that relationship and, what you kind of talked about, and maybe if they've updated you on the situation? I'm curious to hear what is going on in the health ministry. Seems pretty interesting.
Well, he, my friend, we met about like 2 years ago. He has been a longtime friend of my family, so I asked him about this situation, and he said that the projections were like not good, and so far projections of the curve they have been very accurate. I would say that most of the people are not aware of the current situation, but thanks to my friend, I am really well informed about the current cases and the projections for the infections and all of those things.
Okay, and you said that your friend is very worried that the numbers are going to go very high in the next couple months. Has he mentioned his predictions now? Because you sent me this email quite a while ago, so I'm curious if there's any updates from him recently on what's going on. Because here in America, it seems that we're pretty much at the peak, and right now it's starting to go down, the number of people that are being admitted into the hospitals. Deaths are still rising because there's been people in the hospital for a while, but at least we see there's less and less people coming into the hospitals every day, showing that we're starting to go in the right direction. Social distancing is working. So I'm wondering currently what the situation is in Peru for that.
I have not been able to contact my friend. He has been very busy doing all these reports, but currently the news say that we are beginning to peak the infections. They expect like 2 weeks more of infections, and then they say that it will start to go down, but I'm not so sure about that because most projections that my friend sent me, they were talking about increasing infections until July. So
wow,
I don't
until
know.
July.
Yes.
Okay, Joel, thank you so much for your time. You've given me a little bit of an insight into Peru. Before we wrap up, I'm just curious, what does the future hold for you? What are you expecting to happen in the next couple days, weeks, or months for yourself? You going to stay on lockdown, or what do you foresee?
I am very worried about the global economy,
Mm,
uh, as you must know, most of the global uh, of the countries are beginning to enter into recession.
mm,
So it'll be a pretty rough couple of months, but I'm trying to be optimistic that the infections will not go more than intended,
mm,
and the and that most of the medical workers can have their equipment, but currently we are a little bit worried about the medical workers because they don't have enough masks and protectors and all of those things.
mm. Yeah, here in America, we're getting assistance. For example, through legislation, there's been like a $2 trillion stimulus that's been put in that's going to give people unemployment and a lot of benefits. Is anything similar happening in Peru economically to help the people?
Yes, the government sent like a little amount of money to most people that didn't have a job. Uh, it is like 380 soles. That will be like $100 approximately. And yeah, the government sent a little bit of money to these unemployed people so they can breathe a
Hmm,
little easier
sure.
during this pandemic.
Okay. Thank you, Joel. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Talk to you later, man.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Boom. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this podcast valuable, there are many ways you can support it. The best way is by going to my website, observingtheprocess.com. For just $5 a month or $50 for the year, you can become a monthly supporter. This show relies on listener support to stay on the air, so if you find this content valuable, I hope you will consider subscribing. You can find a link to subscribe in the description of this podcast. If you can't support monthly, no worries. You can help out by rating and reviewing on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, or discuss it on your own podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. If you are looking for information on how to protect yourself and stay safe from COVID-19, please get information from the CDC or the World Health Organization. Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or SoundCloud. He goes by the name Estoric, Estoric. All right, that's it for now.